I promised Frank I wouldn't tell you about him. So for 20 years, I haven't uttered his name out loud. But now you know. And I need to tell you about him.
The announcement of Outlander Season 8 wasn't just news. It felt like a wave crashing over the fandom, sweeping away years of hope that maybe this show could go on forever. I remember the moment the official confirmation dropped. Stars declared that this would be the final season. Even then, part of me refused to believe it. After all, Diana Gabaldon's book series isn't finished, and fans have always clung to the promise that as long as there were stories to tell, the show would keep breathing. For so long, those words from executive producer Meryl Davis echoed in my head. We'll keep making this until Claire and Jaime are 100. That statement gave us hope, a belief that the journey wouldn't stop. But now, with the trailer teasing Jaime's death, with cast members sharing their bittersweet farewell posts, and with filming officially wrapped, it's undeniable. We've reached the final chapter, and the realization cuts deep. When the trailer dropped, it didn't ease us into this goodbye. Instead, it hit like lightning. Jaime's voice, solemn and haunting, spoke of war and death. War is coming to the backcountry, and Jaime Fraser dies in it. Just hearing him say those words was enough to send chills through the fandom. For years, Jaime has been the unshakable heart of this series. A character larger than life, someone who seemed untouchable even when surrounded by danger. And yet, here he was, speaking his own death into existence. Was it prophecy? Was it misdirection? Was it an inevitability we had been running from since the very beginning? That single line turned what should have been just another exciting teaser into a gut-wrenching reminder that this season is going to hurt. And not just hurt a little, it will break us. But what makes this even more powerful is that the trailer wasn't just about doom. It was steeped in nostalgia, weaving in memories and emotions that pulled us back to where it all began. It felt like the show was deliberately reminding us of the journey we've taken, only to contrast it with the storm that's about to arrive. The cast themselves have said that this will be the most emotional season yet. Sophie Skelton described it as nostalgic, Richard Rankin called it sexy and dangerous, and Sam Heughan added the words heartbreaking and eternal. Each of those descriptions is enough to send shivers down your spine, because they don't just describe a season of television, they describe a farewell, a conclusion written to stay with us forever. And yet, despite the emotional weight of Jaime's looming fate, Season 8 isn't just about death. It's about the past coming back in ways we never thought possible. Faith, the daughter we believed was lost in Season 2, is suddenly at the center of everything. How is this even possible? How could a child we saw laid to rest all those years ago now be a key piece of the story? That mystery doesn't just raise questions, it reopens old wounds. It forces us to look back at one of the most heartbreaking moments of the series and wonder if we ever truly understood it. This is where the suspense deepens, because if the showrunners are brave enough to alter such a crucial piece of Claire and Jaime's past, then nothing is off limits, not even Jaime's survival. The more we learn about Season 8, the clearer it becomes that every plotline has been tightened, every story has been sharpened to cut directly into Jaime and Claire's lives. With only 10 episodes left, there's no room for detours. Co-showrunner Matthew B. Roberts himself said it best. Nothing that doesn't affect Jaime and Claire gets in. That means no filler, no distractions, only the heart of the story. And that's why characters like Jenny, Jaime's sister, won't be returning despite being present in the books. That's why even Tobias Menzies, unforgettable as Frank Randall and Black Jack, won't be back for this final ride. Every second of this season is devoted to Jaime and Claire, their love, their losses, their battles, and their destiny, which makes the looming shadow of Jaime's death all the more devastating. If everything is centered around them, then every tragedy will cut twice as deep. This focus also makes Faith's storyline even more intriguing. By the end of Season 7, hints began to surface that Faith's story wasn't as final as we thought. In Season 8, Claire will dig into the truth, determined to understand what really happened to her first daughter. And according to Roberts, this time the truth won't just be spoken. We'll see it. Flashbacks will take us back to Faith, revealing her path, her struggles, and the shocking possibility that she survived, even building a life of her own with 2 children. That alone is enough to send fans into a frenzy. How do you reconcile a moment of grief so central to Claire's character with the possibility that Faith's story isn't over? Was her death an illusion? A twist of fate altered by powers beyond our understanding? Could Master Raymond, the mysterious traveler and healer, have played a role? The show seems determined to answer these questions, but one thing is clear: the answers won't come without pain. This is where the brilliance of Outlander truly shines. It has always been a story about love, time, and sacrifice. And now, in its final season, it's pushing those themes to their limits. Faith's shocking return forces Claire to confront her past, while Jaime's impending fate threatens her future. Both stories collide, pulling the audience into a storm of emotions where hope and heartbreak live side by side. And through it all, we are left wondering, can love really defy time? Or are even Jaime and Claire powerless against the hands of fate? If Jaime's prophecy is the shadow looming over Season 8, then Faith's return is the earthquake shaking the ground beneath us. For years, Faith has existed in Outlander as a wound, a heartbreaking loss that defined not only Claire's strength, but her vulnerability. Back in Season 2, we watched Claire endure one of the most devastating moments of her life, the stillbirth of her first daughter with Jaime. That tragedy became a cornerstone of her character, a scar she carried into every season that followed. To revisit that pain now, all these years later, feels almost cruel. And yet, that's exactly what Season 8 is doing. Not only revisiting it, but rewriting it in ways no fan could have expected. Because suddenly, Faith's story isn't finished. Suddenly, she's alive in some form, and the implications of that twist are staggering. By the end of Season 7, the seeds of this revelation were already being planted. Strange clues and unsettling developments made Claire question whether Faith's story was truly as final as she believed. And now, in Season 8, those questions explode into the spotlight. Claire will pursue the mystery relentlessly, and according to the showrunners, this time we won't just hear the truth, we'll see it. Flashbacks are coming, ones that reveal Faith's fate with painful clarity. These aren't just abstract whispers or vague suggestions. They're visual confirmations, meant to shake both Claire and the audience to their core. And the biggest revelation? That Faith may not have died at all. Instead, she somehow survived, grew up, and even had children of her own. Let that sink in for a moment. A daughter we believed was lost forever, the child who defined Claire's grief, now has a life, a future, even a family. If that's true, then everything we thought we knew about Outlander has just changed. But the bigger question is how? How could this be possible in a world where time, destiny, and history are constantly fighting against change? If Faith survived, it wasn't by accident. Something or someone altered her path. And immediately, one name comes to mind: Master Raymond, the enigmatic traveler, healer, and mysterious figure who has always felt like he knows more about time and fate than he lets on. Could he have intervened all those years ago? Did he see something in Claire, in Jaime, in their future that convinced him to save Faith? Or is there another explanation entirely, one tied to powers and mysteries the series has only begun to unravel? What makes this twist so powerful is the emotional chaos it brings. For Claire, the return of Faith is not just a miracle, it's a storm. Imagine carrying the grief of losing a child for decades, only to discover that grief might have been misplaced. The weight of that realization would shatter anyone. And for Claire, who has already endured so much loss, it's almost unimaginable. Does she feel relief? Anger? Guilt? All of the above? This is the kind of revelation that could consume her, the kind that blurs the line between joy and despair. Because yes, Faith may have lived, but the years lost can never be reclaimed. The bond between mother and daughter, stolen by time and secrecy, can never truly be what it should have been. That's the tragedy hidden inside the miracle. And then there's Jaime. For Jaime, Faith's existence is no less earth-shattering. He too carried the grief of losing his first daughter. For him, Faith wasn't just a child lost, she was a symbol of everything he and Claire had to sacrifice. To learn now that Faith lived, that she may even have children of her own, forces Jaime to face the unthinkable. What does it mean to be a father to a child you never knew? How do you process the idea of grandchildren you've never met? For a man defined by his fierce devotion to family, this revelation is as much a torment as it is a gift. It's a cruel twist of fate, giving him something to hold on to while also reminding him of everything he's missed. For the audience, Faith's return is more than just a shocking twist. It's a symbol of what makes Outlander so unique. This is a show that has always dared to mix history, love, and fantasy into something unpredictable. By bringing Faith back, the writers are breaking their own rules, rewriting their own canon, and reminding us that in this world, nothing is truly certain. If Faith can live, then what else can change? Could Jaime's prophecy also be rewritten? Could the impossible be undone if love is strong enough to bend fate? Faith's return doesn't just resurrect a character, it resurrects hope, even as it deepens the suspense. And yet, the showrunners have been careful to remind us that this isn't a book storyline. Diana Gabaldon never wrote Faith's survival into the novels. This is entirely the creation of the show, a bold narrative choice that could reshape how fans view both the adaptation and the source material. That makes it even more mysterious. Why risk such a massive change? Why bring back Faith now, at the very end, when the story is already brimming with emotion and heartbreak? The answer seems clear. Because this is the final season. The writers aren't holding back. They're throwing every emotional weapon they have at us, determined to make sure the goodbye is unforgettable. So as Season 8 unfolds, Faith's return will not be a side plot. It will dominate the narrative, forcing Claire and Jaime to confront their past while the future hangs by a thread. It's a storyline that blends hope and heartbreak in equal measure, one that dares us to imagine the impossible while preparing us for devastating truths. And it ties directly back to the prophecy of Jaime's death. Because if Faith can defy fate, maybe Jaime can too. Or maybe, just maybe, the price of Faith's life will be Jaime's death. One life gained, another lost. A trade written by time itself. That is the haunting possibility that makes this storyline so thrilling and so terrifying. The shadow of Jaime Fraser's death is the storm cloud hanging over everything we know about Outlander Season 8. It's almost unbearable to think about, because for nearly 10 years, Jaime has stood as the heart of this saga. The man whose love for Claire defined the story, whose strength carried us through battles, betrayals, and heartbreak. To even whisper the idea of his death feels like tearing apart the foundation of the series itself. Yet the trailer didn't whisper, it shouted. Jaime himself spoke the words that James Fraser dies in the Backcountry War. Those words are more than just dialogue. They feel like a prophecy, a warning, a glimpse of a destiny that no amount of time travel or love may be able to undo. And the weight of hearing it directly from Jaime's own voice is something fans are still trying to process. Now, seasoned Outlander viewers know that this series is no stranger to misdirection. Time and again, Starz has dangled devastating possibilities in front of us, only to twist the story in unexpected ways. Could Jaime's death prophecy be another misdirection? Could it be a clever tactic to keep us anxious, to prepare us for tragedy that may never truly come? It's possible. But this time feels different. The tone of the teaser, the way it lingered on those words, the emotional reactions from the cast who have openly said this is the most heartbreaking season yet, all of it suggests that this prophecy is more than just a tease. It feels like the writers are preparing us for a painful inevitability, even if the path to it is filled with twists. What makes Jaime's possible death even more haunting is the source of the prophecy. In the world of Outlander, words matter. This line wasn't just invented for shock value. It came from a book written by Frank Randall. Yes, that Frank Randall, the historian whose life was forever intertwined with Claire's through time itself. When we hear Jaime echoing Frank's words, it feels like fate tightening its grip. Frank's writings have always been tied to history, to recorded fact, and even though the show has never been afraid to bend history to serve the story, this connection raises a terrifying question. If Frank wrote it, does that make it inevitable? Is Jaime's death not just a possibility, but a fixed point in time, something no amount of love, sacrifice, or time travel can undo? That idea alone sends chills down the spine, because if there's one thing we've learned from this show, it's that not everything can be changed. And yet, that's the tormenting brilliance of this setup. We don't know. We can't know. For years, Jaime has narrowly escaped death, surviving wounds, wars, betrayals, and impossible odds. Every time he's been in danger, Claire's love, fate, or sheer willpower has pulled him back. So when he says that death is coming, we're left clinging to that tiny shred of hope that maybe, just maybe, this will be another near miss. Maybe the prophecy is true on paper, but false in reality. Maybe Jaime will walk through the fire one last time and emerge scarred but alive. The uncertainty is what makes it so powerful. Because as much as we prepare ourselves for heartbreak, deep down we can't stop hoping. But let's not forget the emotional impact this will have on Claire. Throughout the series, Claire has been our anchor. Strong, brilliant, unbreakable in the face of every storm. But her entire journey has been defined by Jaime. Their love is the reason she stayed in the past, the reason she endured torture, exile, and loss. If Jaime is truly destined to die, how does Claire go on? Does she return to the future? Does she find a way to fight fate itself? Or does she stand in the ashes of the life they built together and refuse to let go? These are the questions fans are already asking, and the trailer gave us no answers. Only enough to leave us restless and terrified for what's coming. The cast, too, have done nothing to calm those fears. At San Diego Comic-Con, their words only heightened the sense of finality. Sam Heughan himself called the final season heartbreaking and eternal. Heartbreaking because we know we're going to lose something precious. Eternal because even after the show ends, Jaime and Claire's story will live on with us. Sophie Skelton used the word nostalgic, which only reinforces the idea that this season is not just about moving forward, but about looking back, retracing the love and the pain that brought us here. Richard Rankin called it dangerous, and he wasn't exaggerating. Every choice, every battle, every revelation in Season 8 feels like it could be the last. The cast aren't just promoting another season, they're preparing us for a farewell. And let's not ignore the emotional reality for the actors themselves. As filming wrapped in 24, the farewell posts from Sam Heughan and Catriona Balfe were heartbreaking in their own right. Photos from the final table read, circulated online, filled with tears and gratitude. The official Outlander page wrote that words cannot express the debt owed to every cast and crew member who made the series possible, and to every fan whose passion kept it alive. They called Outlander more than a show. They called it a family. And that's what makes this so hard to process. Families don't just end. Love stories like Jaime and Claire's don't just stop. And yet, this is where we are. So as we stand on the edge of Season 8, Jaime's fate feels like a question with no good answer. If he dies, the heartbreak will be unbearable. If he lives, the scars of this season will still change everything. Either way, the journey ahead is going to test us, and that's why the prophecy matters. Because whether it's fulfilled or subverted, it will define this final chapter. It's not just about Jaime's death, it's about whether love can truly fight against fate. As Outlander enters its last season, one truth has been made painfully clear. Every storyline, every twist, every single character arc now bends back toward Jaime and Claire. There are no distractions left, no sprawling side plots to drift away into. This is the endgame, and every choice the writers make has to cut straight into the heart of the love story that has carried us this far. That's why some familiar faces we expected to see again, like Jenny Murray, Jaime's sister, won't be returning. Even Tobias Menzies, unforgettable as Frank Randall and Black Jack, won't appear in the final season. It isn't because these characters lack importance, but because the show has no room left for anything that doesn't bleed directly into Jaime and Claire's destiny. This narrowing focus creates a sense of inevitability. The walls are closing in, and all roads lead to that final chapter. And yet, while certain beloved characters won't be returning, new ones are stepping into the story to complicate the Frasers' journey one last time. Kieran Bew joins the cast as Captain Charles Cunningham, a retired British soldier whose role has been shrouded in mystery, but whose presence promises new conflicts. Alongside him, Francis Tomelty takes on the role of his mother, Elizabeth, a figure who may hold secrets of her own. Then there's Carla Woodcock as Amaranthus Grey, a character whose connection to the Grey family we've long followed will add yet another layer to the already tangled web of loyalties and betrayals. Each of these new additions isn't here to start new storylines. They're here to push Jaime and Claire toward their breaking point, to test their resilience in the final battles that lie ahead. Meanwhile, in the 20th century, Brianna and Roger continue to fight their own battles. After the events with Rob Cameron in Season 7, the stakes for them have never been higher. Their struggle may seem distant from Jaime and Claire's, but the show has always found ways to weave past and present into a single thread, reminding us that time doesn't separate this family, it connects them. There are whispers of another child possibly joining their family, and Sophie Skelton herself teased the idea, even joking about the fun of wearing fake pregnancy bumps. But beneath the humor lies something deeper, the idea that new life is still possible, even as death looms over Jaime. The contrast between a possible new baby in the 20th century and the prophecy of Jaime's death in the 18th is brutal, but it's also fitting. Outlander has always thrived on these juxtapositions. Love and loss, birth and death, beginnings and endings all colliding in ways that feel both cruel and beautiful. What makes all of this so intense is the way the cast themselves have described it. They've promised that this season will be the most emotional, nostalgic, dangerous, and heartbreaking yet. And when you think about it, those words aren't just promotional buzz. They're warnings. This is the showrunners telling us to prepare, because Season 8 isn't just about tying up loose ends. It's about ripping open old wounds, forcing us to relive the pain of faith, the prophecy of Jaime's death, and the countless sacrifices that brought us here. Every subplot is sharpening into a knife aimed at the Frasers' hearts, and by extension, at ours. But the creators also know that endings are unbearable without hope. That's why, as Outlander comes to its close, another door is opening. The prequel series, Outlander, Blood of My Blood, is set to premiere in August 2025, months before the final season arrives. This prequel takes us back to the love stories of Jaime's parents, Brian Fraser and Ellen Mackenzie, and Claire's parents, Henry Beauchamp and Julia Morrison. In many ways, it's the perfect bridge for fans who aren't ready to say goodbye. Because while Season 8 will mark the end of Jaime and Claire's story, Blood of My Blood promises to remind us that the roots of their love stretch far deeper than we realized. It's not a replacement, of course. Nothing could replace the power of Jaime and Claire. But it's a gift, a way of reminding us that love is eternal, that even when one story ends, another can begin. And maybe that's the ultimate message of Outlander. For 8 seasons, this has never been just a show about time travel or history. It's been a show about love. Love that defies centuries, love that survives tragedy, love that refuses to die even when everything else does. As we step into the final season, Jaime's prophecy and Faith's shocking return will tear us apart. We'll cry, we'll rage, and we'll cling to every moment as if it's the last. But when the final credits roll, what will remain isn't just heartbreak. What will remain is the truth that Jaime and Claire's love is eternal. Their story may be ending, but the emotions, the memories, and the impact will never fade. That's why we're not ready to say goodbye. Because some stories aren't meant to end. They're meant to live with us forever.